Yes, well, my name is Maurice Tyree. I am a part of the hospitality staff here at George Washington University. I am an author. I am also a visual artist as well as a commissioner on a commission for reentry and return to citizens affairs for the mayor office of Washington, D.C. Um, yes, my artwork came because I've served 20 years in imprisonment for committing a crime when I was a child. Well, a young man, and throughout that time in imprisonment, I began to find myself through art and writing. Well, I was aiming to address the issues of mental health as well as education. Those particularly was my two aims because I was in the process of re-educating myself and at the same time to heal myself from a lot of trauma that yeah comes from a lot of social ills. And so mental health and education was, my key points of self-revolution. Yes. Oh, this is hard to pinpoint exactly, but one of the processes began probably once my grandmother passed away. That that really shocked my system, and it led me to want to self-reflect more than I typically had prior to that. So yeah, that the seed was planted during the time of the death of my grandmother, who raised me actually. Well, I would say again, mental health and education, and unfortunately, both aspects of prison when it concerns this is they are at the restraint, particularly of budgets from a systemic perspective. And in a nutshell, when the money run out, the education runs out. When the money run out, the healthcare runs out. So, regardless of your current condition of education and your current condition of needing medical help, if you can't fund it, it stops, and therefore, this is usually the form of the inhumane perspective. So yes, it's yes. Oh well, my first published book, I did it off of a person from the Black Panther Party whose name was George L. Jackson. This is a kind of framework my literature under him because reading his literature really changed my life. So that was the main aspect of it because the Black Panther Party, in my view, are pretty much the most closest of Black Americans, meaning like Black Americans who come up in the ghetto, in the streets, and go to prison and become politicized. So that was my journey. So I was able to relate to Mr. Jackson's work from that perspective. Where it concerns Mr. Ellison is particularly the Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was any black male or man in America can relate because we actually, like he wrote, we walk around, though we in plain view, we're really seem to be not seen by anybody. So that was a key component. Mhm. Yes, this painting is inspired by the the death of my mother. And my mother, she inevitably died of symptoms from HIV and AIDS syndrome. However, I became inspired to deal with all cures. Kind of particularly in this picture is breast cancer and skin cancer. and that was the image I was portraying in here. Even one of the images in here, she's without a breast in this picture. The one without hair is for skin cancer. And I learned that the ribbon itself, it just represents cure. However, the color of the ribbon represents represents the diseases that's needed to be cured. And I named this portrait "More Life to All and Less to None," and that was the name of this portrait. But it was inspired by, yes, me wanting to cure diseases of life. Yeah, well, I don't quite remember. It's been a long time, but thinking on it, that's a good question. I would ask my younger self, why did I ever stop caring? I used to be actually a person, a kid, and cried about people. But somewhere along the line, I became hardened, and I think I would have never, if I wouldn't have never stopped that, I would have been better off. I, yes, I silenced myself, and I shouldn't have. Yeah. So that's what I would tell my younger self, to keep caring. Well, first I have to follow what I think is my purpose, and that is to tell as much as my truth as I possibly can in all spaces. And that is the truth of a young man growing up in poverty, and growing up in prison. And yeah, so I will continue on that work to try to reform such a deformed system. Second, I would go back to my thoughts of photography from my artistic work. I have a lot of work that I haven't put out yet, and therefore I will revisit some of that, which is particularly poetry, which was my therapy at one time. It was hard for me to even speak my poetry because it came with so much pain behind it. So I prefer to just write it instead of speak it, because I hate to cry. So I will put some photography work, some photos, pics, and images with those words.